Hey everybody, it's instant ramen time. Years ago, I had a problem. I did not make enough money to pay both my rent and eat well. Which forced me to make sacrifices in certain areas of my life. And my rent wasn't changing, so I changed the way I ate. I don't think this is a problem unique to me. I think a lot of people have had this problem. And a lot of people have approached it in a somewhat similar way, and that's by eating instant ramen often.
And like a lot of people, I got tired of just regular old ramen every night. So I found ways to doctor it up. And albeit somewhat unoriginal, the first way I doctored my ramen was to add an egg. But instead of hard boiling it, I would add it at the very end and let the yolk become part of the broth, enriching it and adding kind of a luxuriousness that you wouldn't get any other way. Next came a good old-fashioned slice of American cheese. There are so many emulsifiers in American cheese that you end up with an even creamier, richer broth. Finally, I added kimchi, usually at the very end. This added a nice touch of spice and acidity.
So when this was a big problem for me, probably 12, 14 years ago, I could buy all the ingredients for under 10 bucks. I could buy a carton of eggs, a dozen eggs for under 2 bucks. You could definitely buy a packet of the cheap American cheese for under 2 bucks. I would get kimchi, which is an important ingredient in my ramen. I wouldn't buy the industrial jug, obviously, like I have here, but I could buy a smaller jar at the Asian market for around $3. And then ramen was pennies, like 12 cents for a packet. But anyways, let's get to it. It's very easy. You can add a lot to this if you want. We'll get into that. I don't feel like getting my cutting board dirty by having, if I cut something, I'm going to have to wash it. I don't want to do that right now. So, got 2 cups of water here. Bring that to a boil. I'm going to add the packet. Make sure I got chopsticks for this. I'm going to let this boil for about a minute and a half. In the meantime, I'm going to get our egg ready. You don't have to break it into a bowl first, but I did that just so I can be ready. And I'll show you how I'm going to add that. We can get the cheese ready. Take it out of this fancy plastic. Set it in that bowl so I don't have to wash anything. You can also get the kimchi out. I generally just put it in the bottom of the bowl and then just pour the hot ramen on top of it. If you wanted to cook the kimchi first, it's probably going to be good also. I don't. I just like to get, and as you can see, I'm at the end of this container. So just get as much as you like in there. Too much and it's going to probably water it down, but I'm going to try to get some of the end of this. I'm probably just going to use up this, what's in here. If I don't put it in the ramen, I'm just going to eat it. I'm going to pour a teeny bit of that juice. That's pretty much it for that kimchi. We'll check on these noodles. They're getting soft. Water is getting starchy, which is good. So in another few seconds, I'm going to add the egg. I'm going to turn off the heat and I'm going to add the egg. And then a minute later, I'm going to add the cheese. We can add some of our flavor packet. By all means, feel free to add more or less. Again, I'm shooting for about half the packet. Generally, if I put the whole packet in, it's too salty for me. So half a packet generally works. If it comes, and I do this with any flavor, I'll be honest. Chicken, beef, seafood. I generally get the chicken. Or I get shin ramen. I love that stuff. All right, that's probably pretty good. So next thing I'm gonna do is gently lower this egg in there, or you could just crack the egg right in the pot. I kind of don't like to break the yolk if possible, because what we're trying to do is just kind of cook that yolk a little bit so that it's like, you know, when you get an egg over easy and it just, you know, yellow yolk is warm and it just drips everywhere. That's what we're going for. And it's gonna mix in with the broth and make it delicious. We're gonna do this for about a minute. So I'm just setting a timer and we'll go from there. American cheese. I know this is a trigger word for a lot of people. There's a lot of hate for American cheese, but I like it. I don't like it on everything. I'm not saying use American cheese for everything, but certain applications, it's perfect and it melts. This is one of those applications where it's good. I would not use cheddar or anything else. I would, in fact, argue that because American cheese is so unlike actual cheese, it's why it's perfect for this. I'm not saying American cheese is all you have to use, but I think there's a little too much hate for it. I think it has a place. So let's see. Well, I'm not even going to look, but essentially I can see some egg white in there. I don't know if you can see that too. Oh, and there's a yolk, a little bit of yolk. But essentially I'm going to add this cheese and just stir everything up. The yolk's going to mix in. The cheese is going to get hot and melt in. And pretty soon we're going to have this really creamy, luxurious broth. Luxurious is a stretch when you're using American cheese, I know. Probably not the right word. You're going to have a rich, creamy broth. Let's go with that. So I think I got a lot of these ideas from, or at least two of them, the egg and the cheese, and how you cook the egg and adding the American cheese are from, I believe it's Roy Choi. I think I saw a recipe in the New York Times cooking app that they credited to Roy Choi. I did not do everything in that recipe. In fact, I think in that recipe they add scallions, they add some sesame oil, some butter. You can do all that and it's probably going to be great. I absolutely did not. You could also add sesame seeds. You could add garlic. You could, mince up some garlic and put it in this bowl is probably where I do it with the kimchi, or in place of, and you can let the broth kind of cook the garlic a little bit. I don't know how great raw garlic would be. There's a lot of options. You could add vegetables, peas, whatever. I'm not doing any of that, and I never really did. I'm trying to keep this simple, easy. And again, I'm not trying to wash many dishes. So I just didn't feel like cutting anything right now. I think I even have scallions in my fridge. So look at that nice creamy broth. I know this is nothing traditional. I'm going to dump it right on top of the kimchi. You can see the cheese that I left behind in the pan. That always happens. Stir it up. The kimchi is going to get warm and mixed. The broth is delicious. Let me see if I've got, there it is. So I'm going to take a sip of the broth. I'd really like to get some of this kimchi in my bite. There we go. Take a bite of that kimchi, take a bite of the noodles, a sip of the broth. I'm going to turn the sound off when I do this because I think it sounds less than appetizing to hear me eating and slurping noodles. That is still good. It's really good. I highly recommend trying it. If you think it looks disgusting, I totally get it. It's a weird combination. But I tell you what, you tell me how you like to eat your instant ramen. Leave something in the comments. Let me know what you would do different. If you try this and you like it, let me know. I think it's fantastic. You guys have a wonderful afternoon, evening, depending where you're at in the world right now. And we will catch up with you next time.